What if I told you that the secret to a thriving vegetable garden has nothing to do with fertilizer, watering schedules, or even the soil you're using, and everything to do with the flowers growing right beside your vegetables? Most gardeners overlook this completely. And the ones who figure it out? Their harvests look like something out of a magazine. Stay with me till the end of this video because flower number 7 is going to completely change the way you think about your garden space. Welcome back to Earthly Gardening. If you're new here, so glad you found us. This channel is your go-to spot for real, practical gardening tips that won't drain your wallet. And if you've been here before, you already know we don't do fluff. We get straight into what works. Before we dive in, if you find value in what we share here, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss a new video. It's completely free and it helps this little community grow. Alright, let's get into it. So here's something most people never talk about. Your vegetable garden is quietly struggling, and not because of anything you're doing wrong. It's because of what's missing. And what's missing isn't another bag of compost or a new watering system. It's flowers. Specific ones. Planted in the right spots. And by the time this video is done, you're going to walk back into your garden and see it completely differently. Let's get into the 9 flowers every vegetable gardener should be growing, and more importantly, why each one earns its spot in the ground. Flower 1, Marigolds. Now before you say, everyone knows about marigolds, hear me out. Because most people plant them as decoration and completely miss why they actually work. Marigolds release a natural chemical from their roots called alpha-terthionyl. That word sounds complicated but the job it does is simple. It kills nematodes. Those are the microscopic worms living in your soil that attack the roots of your tomatoes, peppers, and carrots from underneath, and you never even see it happening until your plants start wilting for no obvious reason. Here's what makes this even better. You don't need a lot of them. Plant marigolds around the border of your vegetable bed or tuck them between your tomato plants. The roots do the work underground while the flowers bring in pollinators above ground. One thing most gardeners get wrong though, they pull marigolds out at the end of the season. Don't do that. Till them back into the soil. Let the roots decompose there. That's when the real protection kicks in for your next planting season. French marigolds work best for this. Not the big African ones. Remember that. Flower 2, nasturtiums. This one is clever. And once you understand how it works, you're going to want it in every corner of your garden. Nasturtiums act as what gardeners call a trap crop. Aphids absolutely love them. More than they love your kale, your beans, or your squash. So when you plant nasturtiums near your vegetables, the aphids go straight for the nasturtiums and leave your food crops alone. Now some people panic when they see aphids covering their nasturtiums. That's actually the goal. You've basically built a decoy. Let the aphids gather there, then deal with them all in one spot, or let the ladybugs and wasps handle it for you. Because those beneficial insects follow the aphids and now they're right there in your garden doing free pest control. And here's something even most experienced gardeners don't know. Nasturtium leaves and flowers are completely edible. They taste peppery, a little like watercress. You can throw them in salads, use them as garnish, or steep the leaves into a natural pesticide spray for your other plants. Nothing goes to waste. They also grow fast, trail along the ground, and keep weeds from taking over bare soil. One plant doing 4 jobs. That's exactly what this channel is about. Flower 3, Borage. If you grow tomatoes, borage needs to be in your garden. Full stop. Borage is one of those plants that works almost like a system booster for everything around it. It repels tomato hornworms, which are one of the most destructive caterpillars you'll deal with in a vegetable garden. It attracts bees at a rate that's honestly surprising for such a simple plant. And because it pulls nutrients up from deep in the soil through its roots, it actually improves the soil condition for whatever is growing nearby. Gardeners who plant borage next to their tomatoes consistently report better fruit set. More flowers turning into actual tomatoes. That's because the increased bee activity means better pollination. Here's the part people love. Borage self-seeds. You plant it once, and it keeps coming back year after year on its own. You don't have to buy seeds again. You don't have to replant it. It just shows up when it's time. For a budget-conscious garden, that kind of plant is gold. The flowers are edible too, with a mild cucumber flavor. Drop them into water, freeze them in ice cubes, or use them to top a salad. Practical from root to petal. Flower 4, lavender. Lavender does something that most pest control products try to imitate. It masks scent. And in a garden, scent is how pests find your food. Whiteflies, fleas, moths, and aphids navigate by smell. Lavender's strong fragrance disrupts that signal so they can't lock in on your vegetables. It doesn't kill them. It just confuses them enough that they move on. At the same time, lavender is a magnet for bumblebees, butterflies, and hoverflies, all of which you want in a vegetable garden for pollination. So you're pushing the bad ones away and pulling the good ones in, at the same time, with one plant. Plant lavender at the edges of your beds or along pathways where foot traffic will brush against it and release even more of that scent into the air. In a budget garden, lavender also dries beautifully and lasts for years indoors, meaning you're growing something that doubles as a home product if you choose to use it that way. Perennial in most climates, meaning you plant it once and it comes back every single year without asking you for anything. Flower 5, sunflowers. Sunflowers look like they're just standing there looking pretty. They are not just standing there. First, their height creates shade. Shade that your lettuce, spinach, and cilantro actually need during the hottest parts of summer. These are cool season crops that bolt, meaning they go to seed and turn bitter, when temperatures rise too fast. A row of sunflowers on the south or west side of those crops acts as a natural shade cloth that you never have to buy or install. Second, sunflowers attract predatory insects. Lacewings, parasitic wasps, and hoverflies all use sunflowers as a staging ground, and they eat the aphids and caterpillars attacking your vegetables nearby. Third, when sunflowers finish blooming and you leave the heads on the stalk, birds come. And birds eat insects, including the ones burrowing into your soil. You're essentially inviting a free pest patrol from the sky. Cut sunflowers down at the end of the season and lay the stalks across your beds as mulch. They break down and return organic matter to the soil. Nothing wasted. Everything is working. Okay, real quick. We're halfway through and I hope this is already shifting how you see your garden space. If it is, drop a comment below and tell me which flower surprised you the most so far. I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time to do that. Hit the subscribe button, it's free, and you'll be the first to know when we drop the next video. Alright, back to it. Flower 6, Sweet Alyssum. This one flies completely under the radar and that's exactly why it's on this list. Sweet alyssum grows low to the ground, spreads quickly, and produces tiny clusters of white or purple flowers that smell faintly of honey. That scent pulls in hoverflies and parasitic wasps in significant numbers, and both of those insects are natural predators of the pests destroying vegetable gardens everywhere. But here's the part that makes alyssum genuinely special for vegetable growers. Because it spreads across bare soil in your beds, it acts as a living mulch. It keeps moisture in the ground, reduces the need for frequent watering, and prevents weeds from establishing in empty spaces between your vegetable plants. You're getting pest control, water retention, and weed suppression from one plant that costs almost nothing to grow from seed. In terms of value per square inch of garden space, alyssum is hard to beat. It also blooms almost continuously from spring through fall in most climates, so the benefits aren't seasonal. They run the length of your growing season. Flower 7, Calendula. Here's the one I promised you at the beginning of this video. And yes, it delivers. Calendula, also called pot marigold though it's not actually a marigold, has sticky stems and leaves. That stickiness isn't just a texture. It physically traps small insects like aphids, whiteflies, and thrips on contact. They land on the plant, get stuck, and can't reach your vegetables. Think of it as a natural sticky trap that regrows itself every season. Beyond that, calendula flowers attract pollinators aggressively, meaning more bees in your garden and better yields from your cucumbers, squash, and beans. The roots, similar to marigolds, also have a suppressing effect on soil pests. And here's the practical bonus. Calendula has genuine medicinal properties. The flowers are used in skin salves, oils, and teas. You can harvest the blooms throughout the season, dry them, and use them or sell them. A flower that protects your garden and produces something you can use or trade. That's what we call a working plant. It's easy to grow, tolerates poorer soils, and blooms generously from early spring all the way to first frost. Flower 8, Phacelia. If you've ever had a vegetable bed that just doesn't seem to produce as much fruit as it should even when everything else looks fine, pollination might be your issue. And phacelia is the answer most gardeners never find because it's less commonly talked about. Phacelia produces vivid purple-blue flowers and it is scientifically documented as one of the single best plants for attracting bees. Studies have shown it can attract 10 times more bees than many other flowering plants. 10 times. When you plant this near your squash, melons, or beans, you are essentially guaranteeing those plants have every pollination opportunity they need. It also works as a green manure. When the plant finishes blooming, cut it down and dig it into the soil. It breaks down fast and boosts nitrogen levels, which your leafy vegetables like spinach and kale will thank you for. Grows quickly from seed, doesn't need much attention, and does some of the hardest work in a vegetable garden quietly and without fanfare. That's exactly the kind of plant a smart gardener values. Flower 9, Chamomile. There's an old saying among traditional gardeners, plant chamomile where something is struggling. And the reason that saying exists is because chamomile genuinely improves the health of plants around it. Chamomile releases compounds from its roots that stimulate the growth of neighboring plants. Particularly brassicas like cabbage, broccoli, and kale. It also accumulates calcium, potassium, and sulfur in its leaves, and when those leaves break down, they release those minerals back into the soil where surrounding vegetables can absorb them. Chamomile tea, made from the flowers, can be used as a mild antifungal spray on seedlings to prevent damping off, which is the fungal condition that kills young seedlings at the soil line. That spray costs you almost nothing to make and it works. It attracts hoverflies and wasps that feed on caterpillars, it self-seeds reliably, and it grows happily in most soil conditions without demanding much. By the end of the season you'll have more chamomile than you started with and enough dried flowers to brew tea through winter. A plant that feeds your garden, protects your seedlings, and puts something warm in your cup. That's the kind of return a budget gardener lives for. Here's the big takeaway from everything we just covered. Flowers are not decoration for a vegetable garden. They are infrastructure. They are your pest management team, your pollination crew, your soil health system, and in many cases your living mulch, all growing quietly alongside your food and asking almost nothing in return. You don't need all 9 right away. Pick 2 or 3 that match the problems you're dealing with most in your garden right now and start there. Then add more as you go. Within a season, you're going to notice a real difference in how your vegetables grow and how much time you're spending fighting problems that these flowers are now handling for you. That is what smart, low-cost gardening looks like. And that is exactly what this channel is built around. If this video helped you see your garden differently, please give it a like. It takes 2 seconds and it tells the algorithm that this kind of content is worth sharing with more people. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because we put out practical gardening content regularly and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 9 flowers you're planting first. I'm genuinely curious, and I do reply. See you in the next one.